One of them.
You can see the back. Yay, sausage action. Works out well. We've got a different one for each time. We'll talk about it more. Corey, you got yours on?
I don't, man. I don't. I haven't. Ira hasn't given it to me yet. That's my bad because I'm not in town. I'll have it for next week's show.
All right. So there's Ira and Corey. They're both here. We've made a different arrangement, different look today, just because of microphone issues that we've been dealing with for too damn long. But we got it. We got it worked out. It's going to be all right. We're here together, and we should say, "Yay, sausage!" and thank our friends at Register Sausage to start the day. Ira, you want to take over and promote away, baby?
I thought you were just going to show the shirt, just let it be implied. Well, I guess that's only for the YouTube audience. The podcast listeners and the 93.3 listeners wouldn't be able to see the
not at all.
Yay sausage. That's a top seller, by the way, of the new
Yay
shirts
sausages. It's a fun one. It's fun.
Yeah, you created a phenomenon.
Quite by accident.
But Register Sausage is they've got a promo going, guys. A special promo just launched today. If you go to registermeats.com is the website. The promo code is bun length. all caps. Got that, Corey? Bun length.
And length isn't the easiest word to spell either. I've always struggled with length.
Bun length. All one word, all caps, and you'll get $10 off of your order online. And you should do that. Unless you're in the area, you can go to your local grocery store, Publix, Walmart's, Winn-Dixie's, a bunch of different stores have them. If they don't have them, complain. And then, but if you're outside of the region, outside the Southeast, although they may be coming to you soon, unless you're in Alaska, but you can order it online and use that promo code BUNLENGTH.
LENGTH.
Correct.
Corey struggles with the word, but I'll just throw it out there pretty easily. So there it is, Bun Length. And by the way, Ira, how can they get this shirt, amongst others that we'll show off throughout the show today?
There you go. The shirts are available at SeminoleHeadlines.shopify.com. Not Spotify is what I said last week. No,
just keep it simple. Shopify.
SeminoleHeadlines.shopify.com. And we tweeted out the link as well. It's on my Twitter bio if you find it. And man, we're shipping out the first ones here any day that people ordered last week. So appreciate it. Thanks for everybody for who ordered them and checked out the website. We appreciate it.
All right.
What's with the square next to me?
I think we're going to fix that too. I think that gets removed at some point. It's just
we should put the magic 8 ball there and have it just give our fortunes.
I like that. It's you can tell as we talk, it lights up. It's just monitoring the voices here.
So it's cool. It's a cool little feature.
It's the spy balloon.
Yeah.
No, I would shoot that thing down.
It's just monitoring
us. Over Montana and Alaska. Forget it. It's everywhere these days. The camera has to be here or you and YouTube can't hear audio. That's what that is. To answer your question, Corey. I'm glad you drew attention to it, though.
I think I was asking the question a lot of people were wondering.
Bun Length. Bun Length is the special promo code, everybody. It's Bun Length.
And there's nothing wrong with Bun Length.
No, nothing. It's great. So I want to say this. You were on the road representing Warchant. You and Aslan covering for us. Corey and I were chilling at the house last night, just hanging out. Glad that you guys drew the assignment. I just got done talking to Mike Norvell, so it was your turn. What did he have to say over in Pensacola, and how hyped were everybody? That's Corey and I did this trip a year ago, had a real good time. He got stinking drunk. I had to carry him back to the car. But other than that, it was great.
That's why they won't let him back, actually. The Escambia County authorities have let it be known.
Give us a year off.
I even know the mayor now. We're in good with the mayor, and they still won't allow me back.
No, said just take the year off. Let it just
let it die down.
And DC was there. DC was in the house with his daughter. The mayor of Pensacola is pretty cool. Getting to catch up with him, former Warchant staffer, former Warchant managing editor.
Yeah, and I really remember him most for getting screamed at by Jimbo in the hallway. In an uncomfortable moment where he was streamed down where everybody could watch it. It was great. It's come a long way since that moment.
He's not the only one.
We've all been screamed down a few times by Jimbo. There it is.
But no, it was cool. This is the first time they've really been able to do this. It was a staple under Coach Bowden, the spring booster tour. He would go out to all these communities and spend time with the fans and, maybe pick up some checks along the way from donors and but mostly just kind of that engagement. That's kind of part of that barnstorming tour was kind of how Florida State really built their popularity in the 70s and 80s. And then, more recently, a lot of teams don't do it anymore. A lot of coaches don't do it anymore. Jimbo did it some, then towards the end, kind of,
didn't like it.
He didn't like to golf. Coach Bowden would do the golfing. Jimbo didn't like to do the golfing. So the complexion of the tour changed a lot. Then when Coach Taggart came in, there just wasn't a lot of excitement really after the first game.
It's a toughie.
And then, so it's been a while since it's been a coach who seems to really want to be out there and fans who are happy about the program. So it was cool, man. It felt like those old days where, the fans are coming out in droves. They're happy. The coach is excited. The coach wants to be there. He took pictures with everybody. That's something that I think when Jimbo was here, I think they had to, it was limited to people that paid extra to get some pictures. But I think Coach Bowden used to take pictures with everybody. Mike Norvell took pictures with everybody. It was a cool event. And they're going to have, I think, 9 or 10 of them.
Corey, you'll recall, and I know this is probably something that without question happened with you and your father. My dad used to go to these things with Bowden when he traveled around all across the state. And I remember going over to St. Pete with him when I was a little kid. And also he had a buddy in Lake City, go over to Lake City, and Bowden would do the golf events there. I wonder if the benefits, obviously back then, we know it helped grow the product, and Bowden became, and he was perfect for it. He was great in that venue. He was so affable and won people over, even those that were maybe neutral. But
people would say that they would come. That was the only time they interacted with him.
Yeah.
And they'd come, and he would always remember them from years before, or they'd see him somewhere else. Like, oh yeah, buddy, I remember seeing you in Lake City. Or whatever.
Even if it weren't true, he would say, he made him feel like that was absolutely true. And yeah, that's smart. That's part of that charm. I wonder I'm just asking you this question, Corey. What do you think the benefit is now of still being in a situation where glad handing could pay off long-term for Florida State? Because times have changed.
Isn't it just raising money? Like, isn't that what all these things are for? And I mean, I know you want to rub elbows with the fans, but I think you're trying to, elicit donations because those matter. Right, Ira? I mean, isn't that the
part of it, man? I think there are some of these events are going to be more geared towards that. This one was more for the general masses. I think they're doing some of both.
But it's still good even for the general masses, right? To come and say, oh, I had a moment with Norvell, or I was here for an hour. I felt kind of special. I feel a part of the Florida State fan base. I feel part of the Florida State program. Here's $500 or here's $1,000. Like, I think all that matters to kind of get in there. And speaking of my dad going to those things with Bowden, I remember 1991 specifically. Florida State was going to start the year #1 in the country for the second time in 4 years. And it was a ballroom full of people, like 500 people. I'm 16 years old. My dad stands up to ask a question, and I might have told this story already, but I am mortified. You're a 16. You don't want to be embarrassed by your dad, especially in a room full of people. He stands up. They call it because they're taking questions. It wasn't just him interrupting something to stand up and talk, but they're taking questions. I'm like, Dad, no, you don't have to. He's like, you're going to like it, Turk, I promise. And then they call on him. Okay, yeah, the bald man in the back is how they identified him. And my dad yelled out, what are the plans for a rap video this year? Because it was 3 years after the Seminole rap. And literally it got the biggest laugh of the night, which was really cool. That was like even Bobby laughed about it. And he's like, I'm not sure yet, but it's going to be a good one. I'm heard of working on it. But it's moments like that was really cool going back to Bowden, just hearkening back to Bowden. You always felt like he knew you, or you were part of something that was growing in the 80s when you went to those things, right, Jeff? Like, it wasn't what it became in the 90s and late 90s for sure.
Yeah, I agree. The reason I brought it up, I knew you would have a story, and I too went with my dad to some of these events. So I figured there's a lot of people out there listening who can relate to that. And times have changed, and I wonder what is gleaned from something like that. You were there last night. But I do think that one of the areas in which Norvell has succeeded is connecting. Yeah. And connecting to both players and connecting to fans. And it's vital. Even with Jimbo, there was a disconnect. He won, and so that, it's the great deodorant, right? Winning is the great deodorant. And so there were a lot of people who didn't feel connected to Jimbo, but appreciated his work ethic and his talents, and they won games. But it was easy to see when things broke down how it happened and why there were a lot of people who were kind of like, well, okay, so be it. We wish it hadn't happened. It's an ugly look. It's a stain on the reputation that he had created here. But I don't think a lot of people felt connected to him. Willie wasn't here long enough for anybody to feel connected, and they didn't win. I think that along the way in getting this program turned around, that one of the areas that he has succeeded greatly in, and it's going to benefit Florida State and him long term, is that he is connected with his passion and his ability to, I think, illustrate that in a way that fans can relate to.
Yeah, and I think from if there is a part of it for an event like that that's more focused on money, even it's more of a long-term play from the standpoint of, maybe somebody comes to that event that hasn't been that connected to the program for the last 5 years or 8 years.
Yeah.
But then they listen to this guy talk. They see the excitement they got. Maybe they were interested by what the team did last season. Then they go hear him talk. And now one of the things they're doing, when you come to these events, it's only, I think it was like $25 to come. But when you come, then if you're not a booster, they're like, hey, would you want to sign up to be a booster? It's only $60. Well, now you're in the system and you're back at part of the program. I think Mike Norvell realizes that this program and this fan base, there has been a disconnect for a long time. You go back to those years under Jimbo, once they stopped winning at a high level, then the Willie years, then Mike's first 2 years. And so I think it's a combination of all those things. But the other nice thing he's doing here, and again, I don't think it's a trivial thing. He's bringing players to these events. Like last night, they brought Darius Washington, who's from Pensacola, Azareé Thomas, who's from Niceville, not too far down the road. And it's good for those players to, get some exposure. They get to meet some fans and some friends that may end up being long-term connections for them down the road. But it also, Mike Norvell wants them to understand who they're playing for. And ultimately, they're playing for themselves. They're playing for their teammates and all that. We get it. But it's good for them also to be exposed to that passion in a more personal level. So they got to hang out with fans and get, direct conversations with fans. I think it's going to be good for these players when they go to Miami. Maybe it's Maurice Smith or Tatum Bethune. I think they're going to do that at all these events as well. And I don't think that's been as common in the past.
It's smart. I think it's a smart thing to do, especially if you can come across certainly as genuine and you really do appreciate it. I think Mike gets that, always really seemingly has. And it's one of the area of strength. Every coach, every person has strengths and weaknesses. An area of strength with Mike is certainly passion and being able to convey that to this fan base, his players, and obviously the way they coach. And so I think that comes across well. Also, I think Mike knows, as does anybody in the modern game, these are people that are going to be contributing in some fashion to whether or not you're able to compete in the NIL world. That's just the bottom line. You're going to have to continually raise funds. That part hasn't changed. Where the money goes changes some now, and how it's used changes quite a bit. But the ability to raise funds, and lots of them, is always going to be a big part of big-time college football and sustaining a level of elite play, because now these days, the money was always going somewhere to build a facility, to build the newest of the new, to recruit, whatever it might be. But it's going to be to pay the players. You got to have it.
It's smart now, too. You think about it, when we were just talking, when was the last time Bowden was really relatable to a fan base? Early 90s, probably, maybe mid-90s. But, by the time 2000 rolled around, he was 70-something years old. Now, that's not to say he wasn't kind, but you didn't feel maybe like you were talking to the guy that oversaw the whole ship. Like he was the captain, sure, but, Mickey ran the defense. And then Jimbo came in and ran the offense. And this is the guy that runs everything. And Willie wasn't here long enough to really relate or connect with the fans. Jimbo, that's one of the last things he wanted to do. You actually have a guy that seems to be a very good coach, but also really does want to connect with the fans and is relatable and is connecting with them. That meant, now he's not as funny as Bobby. He's not as gregarious as Bobby, but he's relatable and he'll sit there and talk to you and take a picture. That matters too, man. I think that matters as you're trying to rebuild a program.
And of these events, so I think there's 10 total, and I think maybe 6 or 7 of them are these kind of for the masses. Last night they capped it at 250 and they sold out. They literally could have had more people in there if they wanted to. But some of the other events are going to be for the Bowden Society, which is the people that are giving the bigger checks. It's not the hugest donors, but it's an initiative, a little bit more select group, and they'll be smaller groups, but I think at donors' houses. But so they're going to do both during this, during these stops. Part of it's going to be the goodwill, but part of it also will be, trying to get some big checks.
What was the food like, Ira? What was the food
sliders?
Like? Can't go wrong with sliders.
We gave the thumbs up. Aslan gave me the heads up that the chicken was not the best. So they had pork and the
other sliders were the way to go.
So, okay.
I was just going to say
it wasn't a sit down dinner. It was just kind of like a buffet on the side. It was
the fan base hasn't had a chance to hear from Mike at length, other than recent interview I did, and then a few times that he's talked. But now he's going to get this opportunity. So on the heels of a 10-3 season, it's a very different message, very different talking point, very different. I would think mood in the room.
For sure. And I thought two of the big talking points I think he had were, and we've written about him on the site. People can find it at warchant.com, or you can watch the video on our YouTube channel. But I think two of the big talking points were, one, embracing the expectations, that they're not hiding from the expectations, and that, he had a good line. I think probably his best line last night was, look, nobody expected us to win crap last year, and we didn't let that bother us. So now that people are expecting us to do a lot, we're not going to let that bother us. We're focused on us now, just like we were last year. The other thing was talking about his contract. He said, he made a point to say he wanted a long-term contract, that this is where he wants to be. I think that's good for whether or not 3 years down the road, Jimmy Sexton's not holding Florida State up for more money, whatever. But I think it was good for him. He clearly wanted to get that out, that look, it's not by accident that this was to 2029. I want to be here. This is where I want to be.
Well, I think that's true in general. It's one of the things that makes Florida State a destination job. I mean, there aren't that many places where you can win a national championship that has proven it time and again. One of the important things about Jimbo Fisher winning a national championship, it was the one without Bobby Bowden. People needed to see that could be done as well. And it is. And I think Florida State is a place that for coaches, you realize if things are operating to peak efficiency, as I like to say, and the money's right, well, you have a leg up on everybody because of where you are and the kinds of kids that you can recruit. So when you come from Memphis, yes, it's a huge step up, but one would think you'd want to be here so long as things are indeed operating at peak efficiency. So why wouldn't you want to be here? I mean, there are very few places. Now, everybody's got a price, and I'm sure if somebody came in there and they were insane with SEC money and they decided to offer you $200 million, you might walk away from this very great place to be. But short of something like that, this is absolutely, and you'd want to declare that from the mountaintops for recruiting purposes and otherwise, and donations and the like. You would want everybody to know that you want to be here.
I thought something else he said that was interesting. Before, I don't know if he mentioned it, Ira, during the actual, speech to the people that were there. Was it a speech? Was he behind a podium?
That was more of it turned into a speech a few times, but it was supposed to be a Q&A with Jeff Culhane. But he had to apologize to Jeff. It was kind of like you on Wake Up. He had to apologize to Jeff Culhane for talking for 10 minutes.
I talked too much. Yeah. Well, I mean, you ask yourself, do people want to hear from me or Aslan? And then you go from there. I mean, you know what I mean? Same thing with Mike. He's like, Jeff's great, but do you want to hear from me or Jeff Culhane? I got to talk. But so what he talked about before the event, right, was he talked about, I thought, those guys coming back, and that he told all those guys, this is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done when you come back. He's like, because I've been with them now for a year. So I know how to work them and how to work them hard. And he did say, and again, you never know. I don't think he's the guy that would coach speak, but he is so positive all the time. I don't know that if he wasn't seeing something he'd like, he would tell us. But he did say the guys, the leaders, the stars that are returning are his hardest workers and are really been working hard in the offseason in the tour duty stuff and in the winter workouts. That's a good sign, right? Because that's the thing we want. That's the thing I wonder about maybe more than anything. It's just the mindset.
Well, I like that. And one of the things he taught when he was talking about that, one of the things he said was when they had those conversations, when he's talking to Jared Verse and Jordan Travis and Trey Benson, all those guys about them wanting to come back, he said he made it clear to them, look, that's awesome, but the great thing is I'm going to push you harder than I've ever pushed you.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're coming back for a reason. And I think that's it's what you should say, but I believe it.
It's also been the message to the transfer portal kids that it's a great place to come and you'll have a wonderful opportunity. But, oh, by the way, I'm not telling you what you want to hear. I'm going to work your ass off and you'll be better because you came here. Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV continues in a moment.
Be honest, we all have way too much stuff. Maybe your storage closet is full, your garage is full, or the guest bedroom is a mess. Call Southeast Portable Buildings, 580-6400, or visit them online at southeastportablebuildings.com.
Car accident? Call Basic Brooks Law Offices, 777-7777.
My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space.
Well,
you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse?
Just a slow burn.
Slow little burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
priority service. Members jump to the front of the line. Discount on all parts. The Peak Performance membership pays for itself over and over again. Call today and have peace of mind. Florida license number CMC 050334.
Parker Services, comfort just a call away. Parker Services, comfort just a call away. When I get home from work, I'm ready to relax. So I call Swain Pools and Spas to put my pool in the back. I call Swain Pools and Spas. Now I'm soaking up the fun when I want to.
Truckloads of new and used Caldera and Hot Spring Spas are available now at Swain Pools and Spas. Don't wait. Get to Swain Pools and browse the best inventory to find the spa of your dreams. These won't last long, so come see us today. Just look for the huge sign on Tharp Street or call 386-7113 for Swain Pools and Spas.
I know what you're thinking right now. Where can I find a place to get my car fixed and also check out some awesome new hot tubs and spas while I wait? Well, you're in luck. Because when you bring your car or truck in to get serviced at Tallahassee Car Care, it's under the same roof as Swain Pools and Spas for tires, brakes, bowdings, tune-ups, oil changes, all the service you need to get back on the road. Choose the certified technicians at Tallahassee Car Care. Drop by our shop on Tharp Street or visit online at TallahasseeCarCare.com.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Rolling on. Good to have you along. Thanks for joining us. Oh, by the way, here's a second version if you're watching on YouTube, Warchant TV, I should say. There's another Seminole Headlines shirt that you could order, which is Elite Headliner. This would be apt. Yeah. Yes, we will be shamelessly promoting these shirts throughout the course of the show for the foreseeable future. We've got another one coming out of the next break as well. It was a fun topic, by the way, thinking about connecting to fans and players being out there connecting with fans as well. It feels a little bit old school.
Here it does, but so do you dismiss that? You know,
I don't know. I think it's great.
And I think because a lot of people, I'm assuming some people listening to this, including maybe our co-host in Atlanta, who might think, well, yeah, at the end of the day, just win. That's all. Winning and money is all that really matters. But I don't know. I feel like, especially for programs that need to kind of get going and get support, I think there's some positives to it more than.
I think what happened after Jimbo from 16 to 17, I don't disagree with you, Ira. I don't think it's just win at all costs. When things go south like they did, and you haven't really reached out to the people that pay the bills, you've just said, oh, they'll come because we're winning, and then you stop winning, well, that relationship is frayed a little bit. They don't feel like you care. Oh, now you care. Now you need money because you got to buy out a horrible hire you made. Now you need my help. But you couldn't come and talk to me for 2 hours like we've done for 30 years because the new guy didn't want to golf. You know what I mean? Like, I think this matters. I think reaching out to your fans all over the state and really all over, I don't know if they go Atlanta, I assume they'll hit. I don't know if they'll hit any other cities in the South, but going all over the state, man, and trying to connect with your fan base and giving them a chance to see their head coach up close for a pretty minimal cost seems like a really good idea. Good way to stay connected to them.
I think it's always a good idea, no matter the line of work you're in. I mean, I got to imagine that everybody benefits from having a feeling of connection from those that you're asking money from.
That's why we do the corner pocket thing, you and I, man. That's a connection.
Yeah, it's not solely because we want their money, Corey.
But no. It's correct. I wasn't saying that. I'm just saying it's the relationship with our fans.
Well, I just think anybody that you're asking to take away from their time to be a part of yours, such as listening, reading, watching, whatever it might be, or in the case of actually asking for money, you owe it to those people to connect with them in some way. You're servicing them on a daily basis in terms of the work that you do, but also in return, you're asking for their loyalty and their continued support. And so I just think that has to be a mutual relationship. That has to be mutually beneficial. And yeah, winning, look, at the end of the day, you can be the nice guy in the world and shake as many hands as you want to. If your writing sucks, if your show sucks, and if the team sucks, none of these connections happen long term. You're going to be replaced. But provided everything's equal, there's no reason not to connect with those that are as passionate, or one would presume as passionate as you are about the job that you have. I mean, he does strike me as genuine when you talk about caring about this place and really loving Florida State football. Now that's a different level of connection, because obviously the fans, it's different. Most of them are alumni or supporters or whatever it might be, ticket buyers, but he's on a daily basis on this campus working with the kids that make Florida State football what it is. But it's still a passion for the place.
Yeah, and I'm not, this is going to sound like I'm comparing and running down Jimbo, but when you talk about the genuineness or the authenticity and whether or not that's there, Norvell at least does a good job of pretending he wants to be there if it's not where he wants to do. I mean, if you're a college football coach in 2023, I get it. I can guarantee you there are things he'd probably rather be doing in terms of they had workouts at 6:00 this morning.
Yeah, and then he had to turn around and be in Pensacola.
So last night he's in Pensacola. So you got to think he probably is thinking, man, I might be at a better frame of mind tomorrow morning for that 6 a.m. workout if I don't go to Pensacola till night and then have to come back to Tallahassee. So I'm sure there's a little bit of he wouldn't love to be doing it sometimes, but when he's there, the fact that he's there for 2 hours, not checking his phone every 2 seconds, which is something Jimbo would do at those events. He was present.
Which is also the actions of a child.
Well,
I never understood that. Like when you're at an event.
They're there for you.
You're not a teenager, man. This isn't you sitting with your parents begrudgingly over a bowl of whatever you ordered at the restaurant. So you're there for your texting your buddy underneath the table. No, man, they're there for you. What a wonderful opportunity to not have to look at your phone as a grown-up. It's rare. It's wonderful.
And so the reason I say that is not really to run him down, but it's to illustrate Corey's point that even when he went to those events, he wasn't really present at a lot of them. Now, Jimbo, where he was really good is if you caught him at a gas station or at Hauser at a game or something like that, where he didn't feel like he was being paid to be there. He could be very engaging, and people had great interactions with him. But in those events, he was not very good. And then to Corey's point, when things go south, you don't have that relationship. Now you have people coming to
knives come out.
You have people coming to the coach's show asking you where's your loyalty? Yeah. Which again, so it's how you I don't say how you play the game, but it's smart for Norvell to do this. Plus, I think he does enjoy it. He's a guy that he's always wanted this job. He's always wanted to be a coach on this level, particularly at this school. And I think part of him enjoys it.
Yeah, I would hope that you have a passion for what you do. That's another way of saying it. That, I say this all the time. Those guys are paid handsomely. That's what the money's for.
Sure.
You got to go to Pensacola. You're going to have to go to Tampa. You're going to have to go down to Miami. You're going to have to go over wherever the booster clubs are. And oh, by the way, if you're making $8 million, pretty easy thing to say yes to.
But that's the thing. If you go and you don't seem like you want to be there, you might as well not even go.
I remember the first time I went with Jimbo, it was 2010, so it must have been his first tour in the summer. He was in Atlanta. And I remember the event is going on, and I got like 20 minutes with him to talk, or 15 minutes with him to talk. And the event's going on upstairs. He's downstairs in the basement, not wanting to be seen at all until it was his time to go on. And maybe Norvell's like that too. Like, keep me away until the event actually starts. But the event actually was already going away on underneath or up above us, and I was talking to Jimbo below. But he just wasn't approachable. He didn't have a warm come talk to me. I want to say hey to you and your family. And I haven't been to one of these with Norvell, so I can't comment on the differences, but I assume it's different. But also Jimbo won a national championship in 29 straight games. So Norvell still has some work to do, but it would seem much better in this venue than Jimbo was. And quite frankly, than Bowden was the last 10 years of his coaching career. Like, it has been a long time since you've had an engaged, youngish head coach that would talk to the fan base like this.
I'm going to take a hard right turn. I think we've vetted this.
We have.
And I just want to bring this up because somebody brought it up in the chat, and I think it's interesting, and I hadn't followed up on it. I got asked a very similar question in an email. Ira, Corey, maybe you guys have heard. I may have been out of the loop on this one. So, future schedules for Florida State. Obviously, we know at a conference this year, the big one is LSU, always Florida, but LSU to start the year. In 2024, Notre Dame's back on the schedule. They do play Memphis, Mike Norvell's old team, in 2024. 2025 is where it starts to get really meaty, as Alabama is on the schedule. 2026, Alabama, Florida, and Notre Dame all on the schedule. They better be really good by the time they play that schedule. And then we get to 2027, where we add more in terms of the weight of the schedule. Georgia
Hunker down, Harry Dog.
Yeah, Georgia is slated to be on the schedule.
And new offensive coordinator Mike Bobo.
And
we'll see if that's
2028 at Georgia in Athens. There is the schedule. All right, I won't go beyond that. But the point would be is there is sort of a buzz around those games, not just because of the high-profile nature of them, but also because, Ira, I'm hearing that those may not exist. They may not ever be played.
I was going to say, what do you think the percentage is, Ira, that those games actually get played? Is it 50-50 at best?
I mean, yeah, nobody knows for sure because of what the SEC's
with scheduling
going to look like. Now they attack Texas, Oklahoma. That's actually happening in the next year or two. And so, yeah, there's questions about whether or not they're going to have to scrap some of their non-conference home and homes. Look, there are a lot of people around the Florida State football program who would not be upset at all if some of those games got scrapped.
Yeah, because
man, that's I think Corey's been an advocate of not scheduling. He wasn't a big fan of Alabama in 2017.
I've always said, and I know it pisses fans off, and I get people angry at me all the time. Now, if you expanded 12 teams in a playoff, that's a little bit different argument. But before that, I'd be like, no, you don't need to. You play Miami, you play Florida every year. You give me maybe one other tough game. That's it. I don't care if we beat the bejesus out of the other 9 opponents. That's just fine. I'm trying to win national championships.
Yeah, I'm looking for more Duquesnes and less Alabamas.
But
that's me. That's how I schedule.
That said, if you expand to a 12-team playoff, 3 lost teams are going to get in to a 12-team playoff. It's going to happen. If you're like in a rigorous schedule and you go 10-2 or 9-3, and your losses are like 2 points on the road to LSU, 1 to Alabama, it can happen. It's possible. So my point would be, if suffering losses weren't as penal because the field is expanded to 12.
Right. With a 14 playoff, it doesn't seem to make sense.
No.
If it goes to 12,
it goes to 12. You play Alabama, Florida, and Notre Dame in a given year, which is what we're scheduled to do as soon as 2026. Good luck. Probably not going to the playoff that year, probably. but you could see it. It's doable if you're elite. You could maybe go 10-2 and find your way in there. You would if you went 10-2 with that schedule.
But
I just worry that those games aren't going to be played.
In the new landscape, what is the benefit of playing Georgia twice? What is the benefit of playing Georgia in the regular season? If you're good enough, you'll see them in the playoffs anyway.
Well,
and you don't. If you beat Georgia, great. That helps you get into the playoff. But if you're 10-2 or 11-1 in the ACC without having beaten Georgia, you're still getting in the playoff. So it really doesn't help you that much.
Well, but all this is cyclical. So Florida State started playing those neutral site games for money, and then everybody complained, well, you ruined the home schedule.
Slate, yes.
And so, and not just those people, you just I don't want to buy season tickets because so that's ultimately them, but also the fans who like coming to games feel like, well, this home schedule is nothing I want to come to. I'm not buying season tickets. Now my fall is not going to be filled with trips to Tallahassee that I usually like to do.
I got a counter to that, though, Ira, real quick, because I just did it with Braves tickets. The main reason I bought Braves season tickets this year is so I would have access to the playoff tickets. So I don't have to spend crazy money to go to playoff games. I can spend face value. Wouldn't that come into play with the 12-team playoff? If you get season tickets and your team hosts a playoff game, which 4 teams do, you get access to those tickets. Whether Georgia comes and plays in Doak or not, you get, say it's Southern Miss instead of Georgia. You buy those season tickets anyway with the hope that maybe you're hosting Georgia in December in a playoff game.
I mean, that's possible. I'm not saying, but you asked why would you schedule a Georgia?
Yeah.
The reason they did is because people were mad because they didn't have any good home games. So they went out and scheduled some good home games.
Yeah, if your goal is to come see exciting games in Tallahassee, then the idea of having a Georgia on a home and home, like they're already pissed. I've been pissed since we scheduled the LSU home and home. I love New Orleans. New Orleans is great. We had a great time. It was a lot of fun. But man, that campus is awesome. Our campus is awesome. I would have loved a home and home. I would have loved to gone up to Baton Rouge and enjoy
I've covered college football in the Southeast for over 20 years.
Yeah,
almost 30 years. And I've never been in I've never been in Stanford Stadium. I've never been to Georgia. I've never seen a game between the hedges. That would be cool.
Yeah, no. You have 2 all-time programs, great brands, everything else, passionate fan bases. I think it's awesome when how cool was it when Oklahoma was here? That was really, really cool. and Notre Dame comes, it always feels huge. I was in that stadium when USC was here, and how cool that was. We've seen a lot of great moments. If you care about college football, the whole landscape of college football, yes, your favorite team happens to be Florida State. You do want to see the greats. You want to see Michigan come in. You want to see, you name it, Alabama come in. I prefer that much more than these one-offs up in Atlanta or Orlando.
But what's going to happen now if the SEC is basically like, we're just going to play each other. That's all we care about. We're just going to play each other. And then you've got the Big Ten, who maybe could look into the same thing. Now you've got the ACC. Jim Phillips came out recently and told all the schools, you have to play. You got to play Power Fives. You got to stop playing Group of Five, smaller schools. You need to play Power Five teams when you're playing non-conference.
Jim, do you know you represent the ACC?
Well, but who's left?
A lot of these teams cannot beat those Group of Five teams, let alone these Power Five teams. Stop it! Don't.
That's all NC State does is play Troy to start the season. But I hear what you're saying, Ira, and I get it. Like, part of me is really, really excited clearly about Florida State playing at Georgia. That would be awesome. Georgia coming to Tallahassee would be incredible. It'd be the energy in that stadium. Whether Georgia's great or Florida State great, it doesn't matter. It's a cool new team in that stadium for the first time. But the other part of me is, man, I don't want to help the SEC at all. I don't want to give them another marquee game. They get enough. And if Georgia loses at Florida State, they will not get penalized nearly as much as if Florida State loses at Georgia, because Georgia will then get to go beat Ole Miss and Kentucky and all these puffed up teams that are number 9 in the country because they play in the SEC. They can go overcome a loss or two a lot easier than Florida State can. They're not playing the same sport. So welcoming Georgia to Tallahassee is awesome. It'll be a great Saturday. Same with Alabama. But the stakes aren't the same for the two teams. Alabama can lose that game. They're in.
If you want, though, Corey, let's just change it up then. Let's say they were playing Oregon. Wouldn't you want that? I mean, that's, I can see why fans would want that. You want
or in Oregon mainly just because they're not in the SEC. Like, they're not one of the bullies that are trying to dominate the sport to where the ACC doesn't matter at all. They are trying to squash the ACC out of existence. And yet, come to Florida State, one of the marquee teams that's not in your conference, one of two in the South. Let's give you 2 more marquee games or 4 more marquee games for your conference that doesn't need any more marquee games. But then at the same token, it's good for Florida State to have marquee games.
It goes both ways.
Yeah. So
that's
a Corey Clark argument talking to himself.
He's just yelling. 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Back in a moment.
Your local news now.
The Tallahassee Police Department announced Monday afternoon that it had made an arrest in connection to a string of bank robberies. 24-year-old Kennard Tinson was arrested Saturday and charged with 4 counts of robbery with a firearm. The charges cover bank robberies at different banks in Tallahassee from November 25th through this past Saturday. The suspect robbed the Truist Bank located at 2051 Thomasville Road and fled the scene with the money. An officer walking the area spotted a man driving a U-Haul truck in an apartment complex next to the bank and requested additional officers to conduct a felony traffic stop. The suspect was known to law enforcement and had an active warrant for robbing the Truist Bank at 102 North Blairstone Road on February 3rd. Tinson was taken into custody by TPD for questioning. Detectives were able to establish
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Hey, Greg Tish here along with
Matty Rowe.
And you can listen to us Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3. Matt, we give away a couple things each week.
Just a few.
We've got the Florida Farm Bureau Insurance Wheel of Food. We have Give Me a Second, where we play a second of a song and you guess that song. And we also play FLA or Nay. We have a lot of fun Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on
The Greg Tish Show.
Think that's enough?
We could talk about our feelings.
There's a lot.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. only on Real Talk 93.3.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Rolling on, Seminole Headlines. Ira and I were just talking during the break. We'll bring this up. It's come up in the chat. Yes, we've all addressed it both on this show and separately. What's happened with Florida State basketball this year. I'm sure we'll get some questions next hour with headliner questions, which is going to allow us to elaborate a little bit more than we will here. I do want to direct your attention. He won't do it, but I'll do it. Direct your attention to Ira's article from the other day on warchant.com. It's entitled, What Has Happened to FSU Basketball and What Comes Next? And we go through the timeline. He goes through the timeline there and how we arrived at where we are now, some 23 months later after COVID. And, Florida State was sitting on the precipice of being perhaps a 1 seed and certainly a team that was poised, I think, to make a run at least the Final Four. You figure they would have gotten to stay in state for the first 2 games. They also had that leadership, that team, that talent, a bunch of NBA players, as you point out in the article. And so Florida State had gone from winning 29 games, then 26-5 and 16-4 in the ACC and being ACC champs to where they sit now, which is a disaster. The combined record inside the Tucker Center from 16 through 2021 was 76-6. They lose every time they play in the Tucker Center now.
I think Corey has gone from I'm judging Corey's stages of grief by our text, which went from denial, I think. Well, I don't even know if you have much denial, but then you kind of gone to anger. Your texts are a little angry these days. And then I don't know if you got
you're
your
in anger.
acceptance yet.
I already went past anger. I'm past anger. Acceptance has happened. Makes me sad.
You know what my anger is, and I know you two agree with it and can relate, is look, man, there were some bad breaks. The injuries last year were crazy. They lost 2 important players this year. I don't know that you can expect a transfer from the Ivy League to keep you, maybe he's good for 3 wins. You're still terrible. You're still not what you want to be, or you're not approaching the NCAA tournament or chasing a championship. But I just don't like that, a coaching staff, you have to figure out a way to work with what you have. And I think they've done I don't know how you could argue. They've done a really bad job at that. They are not awful coaches. Certainly Leonard and Stan aren't. Their history and their track record speak for itself. This year has not been a good coaching job. You can't just play the way you always play when you don't have the personnel that you normally have. You
That's
can't
fair.
just, you're 323rd in the country out of 350 in scoring defense. And yet you have not changed your defense at all. Just, hey, they're either going to make shots or miss them. What can you do? That's life, right? I haven't liked that. Like, they have gotten some bad breaks. Leonard is clearly a very good coach. Stan is a very good assistant coach. They've proven it. But this year you don't get a pass just because of what you've done in the past. They've had really good years where they've maximized their talent. This year, hey, they have not come close.
Yeah, they whiffed on some kids. They haven't coached up the ones they do have.
Right.
They've been bitten by the injury bug. The NCAA screwed them for half a season. There's a bunch of little things that all add up. But I don't think anybody would argue, and we're all obviously, we've mentioned it before and well-documented and impressed by Leonard Hamilton's career, not just here at Florida State, just in general, and what he's done. But it doesn't mean we wouldn't criticize him. I think all of us at different points have said this has been a sorry job. He's done a poor job this year, period. Now, I know that what people want, and this is with any coach, not just Leonard Hamilton, when things are going poorly, they want the coach to sit up there at the dais and take a beating for 20 minutes. And coaches aren't going to do that. They still have to go and practice with these guys, coach these guys up, and try to get them prepared to play. they're not going to fall on the sword for you the way that you want them to. They want you to apologize to everybody repeatedly. Coaches will accept responsibility. I think Ham has several times this year.
He has,
it's my fault.
And he's been pretty open on a few different things. I mean, like saying that they weren't tough enough
They're definitely not.
game.
And that is a
Right.
damning statement from a man who certainly
He
built
probably
a bunch
values
of teams and values that immensely. That is the most scathing indictment he has had yet, is to admit they're not tough.
And he
they're
even
not.
said, he's like, that's something no coach wants to ever say.
Oh, it's
And
hurtful.
especially him. Because he's not a coach that's just, let's run up and down and outscore you or whatever. I mean, it is about toughness and manhood. That's how he played when he was a young basketball player.
Yeah.
And it's how all of his teams have ever coached. That's the fabric, the fiber of his programs. So this is killing him. And I want to bring up one thing, because I've seen this comment a lot, either after stories or in social media, whatever, people making the comment about how he doesn't seem that emotional in the post-game press conferences, that he seems tired. Like I've heard people say, oh, he's seeming older and tired now. My theory on this is this: that guy is sick to his stomach of what his program is right now. And I think it eats at him. And I think he doesn't know what he can say, because at the end of the day, they've created this mess. I mean, they've had some bad fortune, as Corey said, and you said, it's well documented. But at the end of the day, they have created this situation. And I think when he made the comment, he said, I asked him, are you already thinking about what you're going to do after the season? And he said, every available waking second.
Yeah, because he's got to flip the roster.
So he knows he's got to make changes, and that's not hard. That's not easy.
Really
he loves
hard.
those kids.
Good luck with that.
But he's got to have to. But at least you have the portal now. It is an option.
Is.
5 years ago, it would have been much tougher to flip a roster pretty quickly. That has to happen now. And so, but I think this year is probably, I would bet it's probably been his most difficult year. And I think I don't think what you see is tiredness. I think what you see is probably internal frustration and anger, and not being able to say what he really wants to say.
Well, and he's always a guy that we applaud him for this, and always have. He really does care about those players, and to say what he needs to say to explain this season to his fan base, he would have to make some comments about players that he is not going to do publicly. He's just not going to do it. We all know the comments that could be made. We all know the kids that have not played well and probably don't belong in a Florida State uniform and probably won't be back here next year. And he's not going to come out and say that publicly.
But he brought them there.
I was going to say, at the end of the day, they didn't sign themselves. So
that's why he won't. That's why I'm saying he won't say he won't call them out publicly like some other coaches would. Like, we just got a guy that can't catch in the middle of the paint, or we got a guy that can't stay in front of anyone. He's not going to identify him like that. So.
And I think it's foolish for people to expect that he would do that. Right. Also, by the way, to your point, that's not exhaustion. That's devastation. It's defeat. I mean, but you can't snap your fingers and make it go away. So there's nothing I can say up here at the dais today.
Or do today.
So what's the point of me killing that kid? What's the point of me telling you this is a nightmare? It is a nightmare. It's self-evident. It's low-hanging fruit to point these things out. Everybody gets it. This is awful. The record tells you it's awful. Watch him play. It's terrible. All of it's terrible.
And here's the thing. If you want to see what the other side looks like, watch a Jim Boeheim press conference, because he will roll every single player for everything that they don't do well. And I mean, it's just all out there. Now, it's just a different approach. I'm not saying it's one's right or one's wrong, but that's what Jim Boeheim does. Leonard Hamilton does not do that. And people, I think, are mistaking that for resignation. I don't think it's resignation at all. I think he does want to fix it. We'll see if he can. But he hasn't conceded anything.
Don't you think the question, and we'll probably get this next hour, and we'll talk about it next hour. I know we're coming up against the break, but the question that Ira wrote in the column, that asked in the column, like, what do you do after this year if you're Michael Alford? What do you do going into next year? You're about to set the all-time program record for losses in a season. There's almost no way they're going to avoid it. It's 21 is the record. They have 18 right now. I can't imagine they're not going to get to 21, probably 22, and they'll
skip the ACC tournament.
Yeah, maybe they just don't go to the ACC tournament, or maybe they went out.
Gentlemen, makes it all go away when they go on that historic run in the ACC tournament to get into the NCAA tournament.
Well, they still forgiven, and then they win that. They win all 7 of those games too, because they would be in the play-in, I'm sure. But so yeah, I just think that's the real issue here is what to be done. What is to be done?
It's a tough situation for Michael Alford. First of all, they're only a couple years removed from being really, really good.
Right.
So it's not like this has gone on like the lost decade.
They were in the Sweet 16 2 years ago. I was there. I watched it with my own eyes.
That's what I'm saying.
And the year before that, they could have won the national championship.
Right. Not for COVID, right? They did win the conference. So there's all of that. But I would say this is a precarious position because there is no ignoring the fact that it's going to take a ton of really hard work. And he will be 75 before they tip off next year. And I'm sorry, just by definition, as we age, it gets hard to have that energy, the same requisite energy that I think it's going to take to turn this around. And so you would look at that. You'd also say, is this a draw for him to bring in top-tier assistants right now? He's going to have to find a way, let's say, to make some changes on his staff, which is also very difficult for him to have to do. And then if you're going to court these transfers that we know he has to bring in to get this turned around, well, how eager are they to come to a place that's going to win 8-9 games in a season? And of the players that can play even a little bit on your roster, how many of them decide to return next year in the wake of this disastrous season? So now you're Mike. You don't really want to fire Leonard Hamilton, of course, at this point, but you are looking at a dire set of circumstances. You're going to have a serious sit down about what's the plan, Leonard, at the end of this season, because this isn't good enough. And Leonard would admit that this isn't good enough, that this is a disaster. How quickly can you get it turned around? How long does he still want to be here? What assistants are available to you? How many players are you going to bring in the transfer portal? Do we have the money to do that? It's not like Florida State basketball is supported in the same way that FSU football is. I'm talking about boosters and everything else. I don't know, man. It may not be doable. I hope it is doable, but this is why you're paid a lot of money. Michael Alford's got to figure that out, and Leonard Hamilton's got to figure that out.
Yeah, and I think, from on the one hand, I would say, I think most of us, even for most of this year, I felt like, look, man, it's a dip, it's a drop, it's precipitous, it's bad, but it was only 2 years ago that the program was riding high. But this season, winning 8 games, I mean, this is not just bad.
Oh, yeah, this is awful.
I mean, like Corey said, the worst season in school history.
The plane has crashed into the side of the mountain.
But the good thing is, I do think, and again, if you laid it out perfectly, you nailed it. There are a lot of challenges, but I do think it's doable. I think he's got to make some tough decisions, though. I think he could do it, but he's got to now get it to where it was. I don't know,
probably,
but
not.
Get it back to decent. Then he could live with that. I think that's possible.
Hour number 2, forthcoming headliner questions. Hang with us. Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
This is Tyler from Bear No Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere.
Save big time in the new year and get $1,200 off select new units.
Online at BearNoAC.com. Florida license CAC 1816-186.
Nothing says Valentine's Day like flowers and chocolates, but I'm not talking about red roses and heart-shaped boxes. Tallulah CBD has a different kind of flowers and chocolate for your loved one this year. Shop for the newest Delta 8 vape and flower products, plus Delta 8 chocolates for just $3.99. CBD massage oils, CBD bath bombs, a selection of enhancing products to really feel the love this Valentine's Day. Come see the ladies at Tallulah for everything you need to love your Valentine.
The weather is unpredictable and can cause issues around your home. Weston Trawick provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick, professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. Some people call me Paul because I work at Paul's Termite and Pest Control. Everyone that works here will proudly answer to the name Paul. One of the things I love about my job is that I get to help people fix their problems every day. If you have pests in your home and you're like 99.9% of the people I deal with, you want them gone, not tomorrow, but right now. It always puts a smile on my face to hear the reaction of a customer when I tell them we'll have someone out there in a couple of hours. At Paul's, I get the privilege of making your environment safer and more healthy for your family and pets. And because Paul's provides a same-day service guarantee with minimal wait, we get to begin the process right after I receive the call.
If you live in Leon County and call us by noon, Paul's Pest Control will be out by 5, guaranteed.
We're a local company, and it's our mission to help keep Tallahassee area customers comfortable and free from the problems that pests bring. And we do so with treatments that are friendly to our environment for the elimination of termites and any other pests.
And a greener lawn, too. Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Many orthodontists in Tallahassee can straighten a smile, but at Birch Orthodontics, they're dedicated to providing the finest care possible. The experienced and friendly staff is trained in all of the latest techniques. So whether you need standard treatment like braces or Invisalign, or you have a more complicated case requiring extra attention, Birch Orthodontics is here for you. Set up your free consultation today by visiting birchorthodontics.com, BURCH orthodontics.com, or call 850-877-1692. At Birch Orthodontics, they create beautiful smiles that last.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show, live and local on Real Talk 93.3, WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee. The latest betting odds and live movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Number 19, Miami on the road at North Carolina in ACC basketball today. The Tar Heels are the 4.5-point home favorite. 153.5 the total at the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill. Miami, the third choice with the ACC title at plus 450. Virginia, the favorite, minus 190. Pitt, the second choice at plus 350. In the NBA, the Orlando Magic, a 5-point dog at the Chicago Bulls, 238 the total. Atlanta Hawks laying 5 at Charlotte. The Hornets have dropped 7 straight. Chiefs win the Super Bowl, and they're 6-1 to win Super Bowl 58. The Jaguars are 28-1, Buccaneers 60-1.
Sign up now for your free VSiN subscription at VSIN.com/subscribe.
For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Hey, drop what you're doing and clear your schedules. I heard Kohl's added thousands of new markdowns to clearance. And when I went, I saved up to 70% on so much cool stuff. Like cute home essentials, jeans for my whole fam, a cozy sweater for myself, a pair of boots for my husband, and more. So yeah, don't miss out. Get to Kohl's and thank me later. Select styles up to 70% offer ends February 20th. See store or Kohls.com for details.
It's time to think about your tax refund. And Jackson Hewitt wants you to think biggest. As in, we guarantee you'll get your biggest refund or your money back plus $100. Who offers that? Come to think of it, nobody. It's one of the biggest guarantees out there and why you can't just file with anybody. For your guaranteed biggest refund, go to Jackson Hewitt today. Your wallet will thank you. When every dollar matters, it matters who does your taxes.
So let's say you're considering buying a new home in the current climate. We've all heard that demand is high, inventory is low. So how do you get a leg up on the rest of the buyers all making offers on the same house as you? Oh, that's a toughie. But the first place I'd suggest you start is with a call to my friend Shannon at Legendary Home Loans. Shannon will set you up with a complete pre-approval underwriting. It used to be an upgrade, but nowadays it's got to be standard. You want to get your offer on a new home pushed to the front of the line, you need a TBD full underwriting approval from Legendary Home Loans. You'll shorten or even remove your financing contingency, and the sellers will know that your offer is real and ready to go. It's tough out there these days, folks, so why not have the advantage of a proven winning team in your huddle? Get pre-approval underwriting from my friend Shannon with the one and only Legendary Home Loans. Call now, 844-FSU-LOAN, 844-FSU-LOAN, or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
Whitten Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Whitten's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Whitten Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Whitten Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at whittenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
It's time for Seminole Headlines, featuring Warchant.com's Jeff Cameron, managing editor Ira Schofel, and senior writer Corey Clark. Your weekly dose of all things FSU, pistols, and pies starts right now. Here's Jeff Cameron.
Hour number 2, headline of questions forthcoming. Hang in there. I'm sure there's a bevy of questions about basketball. No. I can overlook a few of those if we have to, guys. But I should note before we get started, gang's all here. Oh, yeah. Hold on a second, guys, as we get the hour started. Yet another option for those of you that like many options. Same great Seminole Headlines front of the shirt. By the way, that's what's that down there at the bottom, the score? And
Yeah, that's the back.
That's the back. Well, it's still, hold on. FSU 63, Maryland nothing. The front is the famed, I think Maryland could be a problem.
Corey Clark's famous last words.
Famed quote there. And we yelled at each other that day. It wasn't the first time, and it wouldn't be the last.
It was the last time I was wrong. It was the last time I was wrong.
So that is an option as well. And there'll be more. There'll be more as we roll them out. But there you go. Ira, how did they get them?
Well, you can get them at SeminoleHeadlines.shopify.com. But also, we got to talk about Dr. Birch. Birch
Going that
Orthodontics.
direction. I wasn't going to move
bad.
on.
I feel like
beyond
we're impeding on
Dr. Birch.
Dr.
Can wait a
Birch's time.
second. We're selling some shirts here. She gets
Settle
it.
down, Dr. Birch.
You can handle this. Hang in there. Speaking of which, Birch Orthodontics, which coincidentally always seems like this is true, but it is true. Tomorrow I will see Dr. Birch at 8 a.m. So I'm not going to do anything to make her mad. That's early in the morning. Plus, I don't want her to be mad. But we gotta fix one of the springs or whatever it is, one of the wires.
Right.
Just broke yesterday, and we made an emergency appointment. They hooked us up. We'll be in there tomorrow morning.
Take her a shirt. Get her a shirt in there. Take her a shirt.
There you go.
There it is.
I mean, she pays us for it, but
You need a smaller.
That would be a nightgown for Dr. Birch.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a small. Yeah, Dr. Birch isn't.
She's tiny.
She's not the tallest. But we love her the same, and she does tremendous work for the local community. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about more, as we talked about during this year, is as part of her celebration, her anniversary, her Birch Orthodontics, is she's going to be giving back to several charities and organizing events to give back to the community, and we'll be helping promote those as well. But if you want information about Birch Orthodontics, if any of your kids or family members need any orthodontic work, birchorthodontics.com is the website, BURCH, and they have free consultations, payment plans, the best in the business, great quality work, and great customer service.
Without question.
If you have an issue with your braces.
Dr. Birch is the best, and her staff is also awesome. Steve writes, gentlemen, thanks for the updated shirts. I love the new logo. Any new updates on the ACC going to a different revenue sharing model? I saw something on a Clemson website that seemed to think that many within the conference would accept that. True, or is that fiction? That's from Steve.
It's true. I was kind of surprised. Clemson's athletic director, Neff, I can't remember his first name. He's only been there a couple of years. He actually confirmed that. It's something that we had been told. I had heard from people at FSU that it's something that FSU, Clemson, and maybe one or two other schools have been pushing.
That bother to make money for this conference, yes.
To the ACC is, look, we need to at least look at changing the revenue sharing model. The ACC since eternity, I guess, has always done equal shares for everybody. And, some conferences have tried to do uneven sharing. The Big 12 did it, and it failed. They didn't. Other schools didn't love the idea that Texas was getting a lot more money than everybody else, but they at least want to explore it. From what I understand, there's been a committee that's looking at it, trying to figure out the way to do it. One of the tricks to doing that, though, is you can't just say, okay, Clemson and Florida State get the most eyeballs, so you're getting the most money, because what if you go through a stretch like Florida State did these last few years where you stink on the field?
Tough luck. Still got to pass.
You can't be giving Florida State way more money.
People just go 4-8 before they'd watch a 12-0 Wake Forest
11
play
win Wake
anybody.
Forest
Yeah,
team.
they don't care.
So anyway, they're trying to figure that out. I think they're trying to come out with a way, but I think they discussed it this past weekend. I don't think anything's close to an announcement about whether or not they're going to do it. I think if they do it, it's just a way to try to appease some of these schools that are certainly not happy and may want to explore their options whenever that time could come.
And I think the problem with the Big 12, right, was it was one team that went and got its own network. And, Oklahoma feels even to Texas, more than equal than Texas.
Hey, Corey, get a hold of yourself. Oklahoma has owned Texas for the better
what
part
I'm
of
saying, but in revenue sharing, it's like, what do you mean Texas is going to make twice as much as we do? That's ridiculous. If Florida State and Clemson go at it together, Florida State and Clemson, I just don't know how Wake Forest and Boston College could argue any merits of that at all. Boston College, again, It's time to contract.
And my favorite part about this is Corey makes a point to make a point. It's like he's going to deliver a punch. He's going to take a punch to deliver a punch. It's like, I'll say this thing that's true, but I got to get this shot in at Boston College before I'm done here. Get that
No,
shot
it's just it. They don't make any money for this conference. They never have. They deserve no money. They deserve zero money.
They had that ACC meeting this past weekend in Charlotte. It would have been great if Corey just walked in,
And went,
barged in like Stone
Damn it,
Cold
Boston
Steve
College
Austin.
just started beating the hell out of
Who
him.
he looks like now, and just points to the BC athletic director and just points to the door.
Yeah, and I don't have to say anything. Don't have to say anything.
Austin writes, why would an NFL team want Bryce Young in the first round but not Jordan Travis? Well, I like Jordan Travis. I think Bryce Young is had the better career and is the more talented player. But I see your concerns because Bryce Young is, I don't know, slight to say the least. And I have those same concerns that are similar to the concerns anybody would have drafting Jordan Travis. So if that's your point, yeah, I'm worried they're both going to get broken in half in the NFL. But Bryce Young is a sick talent.
But don't you think? I mean, Corey, also like the Bryce Young running is. If Jordan Travis is successful as an NFL coach, running's going to, or an NFL quarterback, running's going to be part of it.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think Bryce Young, I don't think that has to be. So that's where I think the durability.
Yeah, I think Bryce Young had something like 110 yards rushing this year. Like that's not what he does. It is part. Now Jordan Travis was much better in the pocket than we ever imagined he could be. He's a true pocket passer. He could be, but he's always going to have some athleticism to go along with that. Like part of his deal is the dual threat nature. But look around college football, look around the NFL, man. It's a lot of dual threats out there now. It's just they're a little bigger than him.
Yeah, and the thing with Jordan is that when we talk about his running ability, it's not because he can't throw, but it's such a great weapon that how would you not use it? So
Well,
they
it's
would
great to
look
use, in college. And you would want that to be a part of anything that you're drafting. You're absolutely right. But he is, and I brought this up yesterday. People do this. It's kind of lazy. Like, oh, well, look at Jalen Hurts. Yeah, Jalen Hurts squats 600 plus pounds. A little bit different. They don't look anything alike. Joel writes, hello, gentlemen. Congratulations to two-time Super Bowl champion Derek Nottie. You think when Leonard retires that FSU basketball will make a splash hire?
Yeah, I do. I think whenever that happens.
This is an interesting point. You and I were talking about this off the air. Please elaborate. I like this. I think that the listeners will find this interesting as well.
Well, I mean, I just think that if you just look at what Michael Alford's done as athletic director in his career, you know, when he was at Central Michigan before he came to Florida State, he hired Jim McElwain. And Jim McElwain didn't bathe himself in glory. He bathed himself in sharks. It's at University of Florida, but he was a big name. I mean, he had been a coordinator at Alabama. I mean, he's a big name coach, and he got him at Central Michigan. Michael Alford is going to want to make big time hires. He's not aiming for the cheap hire. He's not trying to uncover the hidden gem. He went out when Mark Krikorian left. He went and got the SEC Coach of the Year in Brian Penske. When Mike Martin Jr. wasn't doing well with baseball, he went and got Link Jarrett, who had his team knocking off Tennessee in a Super Regional and going to the World Series. He's going to go get the big hire. So I don't know who it would be. I would love it to be Dennis Gates or CY, Charlton Young. I mean, the guys who were here before and helped build this program to what it is. I don't know that Dennis Gates is going to be an option because he's going to be making big money after this season. He had a great first year. Missouri loves basketball. They've got a guy who is going to be the belle of the ball when it comes to young coaches. And I don't think they're going to let him walk away for not a lot of money.
SEC money to pay him too. Yeah, so he has no reason to leave.
That to me is a hard get. Some people debate whether or not Charlton Young's the best pick. I love Charlton Young. I think he would do a great job. But whoever it is, I think one thing that might hurt him is I think Mike Alford will look to make a big time hire.
Yeah,
and I don't know that he would fit that criteria.
Who is though? That when you look around, like Florida. They're a better basketball tradition than Florida State and have more money. It's not like they went out and got, superstars as their net. Like Mike White was an up and coming guy, but didn't they get him from Louisiana Tech? And then who did they get? The guy to replace Mike White? I don't even know who he is. Where'd he come from?
A young guy.
Yeah, and he's
a young guy from like a darling NCAA tournament school, I think. Right? Like I think that's the route you go.
Get your boy Chris Beard. He's been fired from Texas. Bring him on in.
That would be a splash hire, man. That guy can coach now.
He can coach.
There's a lot of good assistants out there. I mean, again, are they going to get somebody who's a sitting Power 5 coach? Probably not. But, I do think he's going to try to get somebody that's going to get people in the seats and kind of give excitement. But again, the job is still Leonard Hamilton's. And so we'll see, this could be 2 or 3 years down the road. But I don't think it's going to be a I don't think you're going to see a lack of investment into basketball, no matter who the head coach is going to be.
Greg writes, if for some reason your favorite Major League Baseball teams for the three of us, Pirates, Orioles, and Braves, were to be contracted, who would you root for? Well, that's easy for me, the Rays. I already root for the Rays, not on par with the Pirates, but I'm from down there, and when they got a team, for years we were waiting for them to get a team. When they finally did, it's easy for me to pull for the hometown team there. I'd root for the Rays.
How about you, Corey? Who's your second baseball team?
You know what? I think I would go with the Pirates.
Nice. You've never said that. You've never admitted that to me. You've never said that you had any inkling of love or a passion for the Pirates, buddy.
Oh, no, I don't. I don't at all. It's just that I like you, and I want to see you happy. And Tim Linnefeld, I want to see him happy. Not the Orioles, because I hate their owner. But I mean, I don't like the Pirates own either. So never mind. I'm going to go with the Rays.
There you go. The Rays, who do a lot more with a lot less every single year, is an easy choice.
I'd go with the Braves.
But they were
no. Are they all contracted?
They're all three contracted.
Well,
No. That wasn't the question.
One of the three is contracted.
Right.
If they're all contracted,
I'll root for the Marlins.
Know, man.
If they're all contracted, root for the Marlins.
Let's go back to not watching baseball again.
No, you'd root for the Marlins.
Los Marlins?
Yeah.
No.
Let's go Marlins. Who else? Anybody else that you like?
I mean, the Nationals, a lot of Baltimore people, that area, a lot of people will support the Nationals.
I thought you might go there.
Might consider them.
I will say this. I had a lot of, probably too much because the karma's going to get me, but thinking about Phillies fans losing a World Series and a Super Bowl in the span of like 3 months, pretty big smile on my face on Sunday night watching them lose a hard
Matthews here. You do realize he's diehard all things Philadelphia.
And he ain't laughing.
Man, that must suck. It must have been a tough Sunday for him. I wouldn't know what to do with myself if my team collapsed in a Super Bowl like that. Good grief. That's
By the way, Renegade Road Apples, you are insane. The Pirates, Robert Nutting, is the worst owner in baseball. It's not close. You can't throw the Rays out there.
He does not care at all about the product.
He doesn't care at all. He's like, we're going to spend $7 on this year's salary, and you're going to suck it. And
Nagowski's our cleanup hitter.
That's right. Yeah. Look at what that owner has done to that proud franchise. I'm not even kidding. I hate to admit this, but I'm all about being honest on the show. If he were to be harmed in some capacity today, it would not upset me. Like if I read an awful story that somebody, I don't know, carjacking, something happened, I really wouldn't be that upset. Screw that guy forever.
I feel he's underrated, man. I feel like he's underappreciated. I like what he's done with that franchise.
The bitterness because of your head-to-head losses in the World Series against the Pirates linger
43 years ago.
5 years. Oh my goodness. No, that is that I can't do it. Robert Nutting. Damn that piece of crap. All right, here we go. If we could change one play from the last 35 years to most benefit FSU, what play would that be? That's from Jared. I got to do the quick math, right? What was the last wide right?
All the wide rights?
Yeah, I mean.
Not all of them. They all work the same. I would say the 92 wide right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are multiple plays that you would point to, that one being the most difficult because it's against an arch rival. You would have won the national championship had that not happened.
I think 92 beats Alabama.
By the way, the pass to Jacques Green is hurtful there because Florida State's the much better team. They were terribly coached on that day. Bobby and staff were awful, and they lost that game to that Florida team. And that one hurts. So that 97 game.
I think 92 just because I think if you tie that game, you get to play Alabama. I think Charlie Ward in the shotgun beats Alabama in 92, and then you win back-to-back national championships. The 97 one is a good one, too. It's just I think you would have split the national championship with Michigan, but you probably would have won a share of the 97 one, too.
I'm going to take the worst of Dalvin's fumbles in the Oregon game just because I feel like if Florida State wins that game, they're going to win back-to-back national championships. And who knows what happens from there. Maybe Jimbo stays in a good mood. Maybe things go a different direction. But it would have been cool for that team to win 2 national titles. I thought they were the best team in the country. I thought they were way better than Oregon until they started fumbling the ball.
And also a sneaky, long forgotten play is Jameis not getting in from the half-yard line when his knee was down on 4th down.
And he may have gotten in.
Yeah, we think he did get in, by the way.
But then didn't they hurry up to run the next play?
Yeah. And
no, there was 4th down, and they reversed it.
Down.
Also, if Jalen Ramsey makes the pick, that's a pick 6.
Yeah.
A lot of plays in that game that could see that thing lopsided the other way. Yeah, very, very frustrating. Okay. That was a fun exercise, guys. Let's do that again. Gentlemen and Jeff, this is from Asheville, Noel. First, thanks for the great content and banter. It helps keep us connected to the mothership up here in the mountains. With the state removing the NIL guardrails, what is FSU doing in response to the state rescinding that law? Some schools have NIL directors in place.
Yeah, which has been interesting. It has been. I think Florida has a position like that, which is strange when they didn't have a way to actually be part of that process. But who knows? Who knows what's going on down there? I think, look, all the schools are happy about it. They all want that rule to go away. They want to be able to take part in it. I think you're going to see more activity in that regard in terms of the coaching staffs at Florida State being more involved in that process. So it's a good thing. They're definitely poised for it to go away, and they're ready for that change.
I mean, Corey, did you want to add? No? Nothing.
No. Ira nailed it.
I think you did too. And on that note, Seminole Headlines, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV continues in just a moment.
Accident? Call Basic Brooks Law Offices, 777-7777.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
This is Ken Wondergem, owner of Gem Mazda of Tallahassee, serving North Florida and South Georgia for over 20 years. And I'm happy to announce that things are finally back to normal at Gem Mazda. Our lot is loaded with brand new Mazdas for the first time in 2 years. So if you've been waiting for the price and selection of new cars to return to normal, the wait is over at Gem Mazda, where we've always provided our customers with the highest quality of service and care. You know Mazda's reputation for efficient, dependable, and affordable vehicles, but you simply must experience the luxurious new lineup of 2023 Mazdas in stock now at Gem Mazda of Tallahassee. Get adventurous and connect with nature in a brand new 23 Mazda CX-50 with all-wheel drive. But hurry in while the value of your trade is still high. At Gem Mazda, we take our slogan seriously. No games, no gimmicks, just a gem of a deal. Gem Mazda of Tallahassee, Capitol Circle Northwest, just up from West Tennessee Street, and always open at gemmazda.com.
My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, you know, bears have their own space.
Well,
you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow little burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay.
You know?
Mouse it is.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Let's be honest, we all have way too much stuff. Maybe your storage closet is full, your garage is full, or the guest bedroom is a mess. Call Southeast Portable Buildings, 580-6400, or visit them online at southeastportablebuildings.com.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
It's a new year, new you, so give yourself a fresh start with MyBookie. Whether you bet to earn or to make the games more exciting, MyBookie gives you the most for your money with a redesigned deposit bonus. Just use promo code WARCHANT on a deposit of $50 or more to receive a cash bonus instantly to your MyBookie account. Using this bonus is simple, but your deposit amount just once. Bet your deposit amount just once. There it is, guys. I screwed it up. How about that? The pressure was too much. I can feel Ira. It's right here. It's right here. Then you're ready to cash out. No strings attached with MyBookie. Bet on the NFL, UFC, or play for a share of big cash prizes in the weekly online blackjack tournaments with so many brands to choose from. Get a platform that makes it simple to bet and win like MyBookie. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie. Oh, we butchered it, boys.
Just disappointed.
Off-season.
Just disappointed.
It was so bad. I think the
ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, guys. I'll do my best to read this one without much of a problem. Michael writes, what the hell am I supposed to do until the Masters? FSU baseball, give me strength. Hashtag average ass headliner. Well, FSU baseball begins this Friday.
Does James Madison in town, Corey? You
I know, man. I know. Who's on the mound for the Noles, Ira? Do we know yet? Who's getting that Friday night start?
Tomorrow, I talked to Link Jarrett for a long form. So I'll find that answer.
Grill him.
Yeah.
Don't let him off the hook.
Yeah. Corey, anything else that you want me to pepper him with? Any kind of question that put him on the spot?
Well, I mean, does he want to be a spokesman for registers? I mean, it's just a perfect marriage with that name. Obviously, we get all the money, but he could help us out with sponsoring registers with the name Link.
I like it.
And it would really kind of kickstart the Beat the Sausages campaign.
That's right. Yeah, beat the Links. I mean, it's all coming together, gang.
I like it. David writes, we all agree that Mickey Andrews needs to be honored by FSU. Yes, we do.
Yes.
Given that we play North Alabama and Mickey was head coach there for 4 seasons, seems like a no-brainer to combine the two. Your thoughts? Agreed, David. Wholeheartedly. Don't we all agree on that?
Yeah. Fine idea.
What would you do? What's the not just have him out to wave to people? Make something long-lasting and permanent for the man.
I would race him. For the halftime entertainment, me and Mickey are going to race. I think I got it. And from there, we unveil whatever cool statue that we're giving Mickey Andrews.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, you know how like Florida had the Mr. Two Bits guy that would come out and lead a cheer?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have somebody come out to every game, like and pretend to be Mickey Andrews and just like dog cuss somebody in the stands.
And you're allowed to say, it's almost like Don Rickles. You can get really personal.
You go back to the 60s with that.
Yeah. You're allowed, and everybody has to give it a pass. That's just the way it was.
That's Mickey. It's just a different time.
It's just a different time, guys.
That's a great idea. That it coincides with North Alabama. Yes, I would love for one of the roads to be named, or a statue, or rename the football practice fields or something. But I don't control anything. Maybe give him a spot on the baseball video board. Just a permanent. Hey, Mickey.
Bring together all of Corey's pet causes.
By the way, I would tell you, Corey, that would be the biggest and most noticeable commitment to Mickey Andrews ever given, because once that thing, you can see it for miles. It takes up most of the scoreboard in places where there could be stats or interesting tidbits about the player or the game itself. No, just giant pictures.
And then time of day.
In time of day, yes, it does say time. It has a clock, and above it says time of day.
Or a watch, or it means
well, it has
check
a
the
clock,
time.
and then it says time of day above it.
Yeah, I like
because what else could it be? What else could it be if it says 7:14? It says time of day above it.
Noel Tiggety wants to just say that I can't believe, I love that your daughter did this, talking about the Seminole Headlines design. So well done, Ira. I know you're proud.
We are. Good job, Alexa.
Yeah, good job, Alexa.
She's going to get money off the shirt, so we're all happy.
Get to ordering, people. We need to talk, writes, what does the trio of love dislike the most about the football season? That's kind of an interesting question.
The upcoming football season?
Just football season in general. Like, what do we dislike about it?
Not getting to watch the other games as much.
That is the number one answer for anybody that works in sport. While covering that sport, you are missing the other games that are being played simultaneously, and we're all fans of the sport. So, yeah.
That was the only nice thing about this season, having the Friday night and Sunday night games, was we did get some cool Saturdays to just watch games. But that's a small price to pay, man. We get paid to watch college football.
You can't prattle on too long about the things that you don't like because you sound ungrateful. And
here's another thing: the food they feed us isn't even great.
Another thing,
the free food,
and another.
That's what when I went to Springsteen a couple weeks ago. Some of the a lot of sports writers around the state were in Tampa for that concert.
That, yeah,
weird. What a stunner.
The guy from a newspaper in Jacksonville goes, "So is every sports writer in Florida at this concert?" And then I responded, and he goes, "Are they giving away free food in the press box?" I was like, "Yeah, we'd all be complaining about it."
Timmy writes, if Alford waited till the end of next season to pay raise Coach Norvell, especially if we win the ACC and maybe make the playoffs, will it have been even harder to keep him at FSU? Well, so he's got the pay raise. We're good. We don't have to worry about it. So a hypothetical, would it have been more difficult?
Yeah, because I think Corey brought up the idea that maybe what was the rush? You could have maybe waited till next year.
Yeah, but then Gene had a good counter. Is like, well, if you say no to him now, maybe there's some friction there. And when he wins you a championship and somebody else comes calling, the loyalty isn't maybe what it would be now because you've locked him up, well, until 2029. But yeah, I mean, look, if he wins that 8 number is probably going up if he wins a championship of any kind this year, don't you think?
I would say that. I don't know about an ACC championship, but I think a national championship.
Oh, without
but
question.
I think any coach that wins a national championship, that's what's going to happen. But I think just having another really good season, they're not going to have to renegotiate. I don't think. Now, again, our views are skewed a little bit by the Jimbo era because, every year it was somebody's calling, somebody's got a job opening, so Florida State's got to pay him more.
He doesn't seem like an NFL guy, does he? I just can't. I love Norvell. That shtick wouldn't work in the NFL. I shouldn't call it a shtick. That's dismissive and degrading. But
he would have to take a different approach.
Yeah, rah-rah doesn't work in the NFL is your point.
Yes, correct.
Although you say that, but man, I look at the guy at the Dolphins, and if you told me 10 years ago that would be the head coach of the Miami Dolphins,
that guy's awesome, by the way. I love him.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you gotta win when
if
you're
they
him.
win. Yeah,
you gotta win when you're him. If you're a nerdy guy that never played it down, you better win, and then it works.
Yeah. I will say this: I don't think that Norvell's an NFL guy, but I could see it maybe possibly more than I could have with Jimbo. Jimbo, I never could have saw.
And Jimbo admitted he didn't want to do it, and yet I always thought that it was in his best interest to go be an OC in the NFL,
right?
Because then all you do is football.
Take the personal
you
stuff
don't
out
have
of
to
it.
do. Yeah, these guys get to practice it all day, every day, study it. It's their job. They're paid millions to do so, and you get to call the plays. And you don't have to do all that other stuff. I always thought that's what he should have done, and he certainly knew enough that he could have done it. Noel Dad writes, instead of the Whataburger trivia between quarters or during timeouts, play audio from various Mickey Andrews locker room tirades.
Yeah, that was
the better Mickey Andrews audio is just what you got on a daily basis of practice. I was fortunate enough to break into this business at a time where we could go to those practices and listen to Mickey Andrews say things that you could never say now, and they were always hilarious. And the true testament to Mickey Andrews' greatness beyond the defenses that he put on the field was the fact that those players, none of them ever wanted to fight him because they all knew it came from a place of love. And some of those things that came from a place of love were hateful things.
It's hard. Some of those stories you've heard, it's hard to think, man, he really does love me. That's what a loving person says.
I mean, it is hard to imagine, but I would imagine it's also like being, joked upon by Don Rickles. Like that, they all loved it. They loved it. Like, please bring it. It's like a roast on a daily basis at practice with Mickey's comments. Is the battle's end our only hope to compete while we remain in the ACC and endure the financials inequalities therein? Chris, I don't know if they're the only means by which Florida State can compete, but certainly they're helpful. Any collective, in this case, Battle's End, that is willing to pony up for roster retention and to give you a fighting chance to win battles over players, then yeah, man, they're paramount to the success of your program, period.
Yeah, I think the combination of all the things that you got a lot of things working together. You have the NIL side. You've got the push for uneven revenue sharing. You've got things Florida State's trying to do to raise more money. All those things are kind of working together to just tide you over until you ever get to wherever the other side is.
The super conference happens and you've been welcomed in, and we're moving the hell up out of here until that happens. Yeah.
Do you sell Boston College on the notion that if you give up half your revenue to Florida State and Clemson, it's better for the conference? You're doing nothing. It's better for the conference. And then in 5 years, you'll be making more money because they've raised the level of the conference with, actually winning games and and being marquee teams. Any chance of that at all? Being able to compete with the SEC. You've got two programs that can really compete with the SEC from a fan point stand and money. Would that help Boston College be okay with it?
Even when it is plainly obvious that this is the course of action, how many times have you ever met somebody who was an employee that liked it when a boss approached them about taking half the money they were currently making?
Listen, we're playing the long game here, Charlie.
Name the
long
time
game.
ever happened in a place where you've been employed, where the slapdick that does nothing on a daily basis, and we all know it, he knows it deep down inside, is finally approached about his salary being too much. Nobody takes that well. That'll never happen.
And honestly, I don't think Boston College is the problem because they know they're not putting anything into athletics. I think you got a better chance with them of going along with it.
Okay.
A school that's a big problem is Wake Forest.
Yes.
Because Wake Forest is putting money into it now. They're paying their coaches. They've invested in facilities and they've won. So you're going to tell them you're taking away their money?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, that's a tougher.
It's a tough sell, absolutely, but it's a sell that needs to be made, one way or the other.
How about just Jim Phillips is from Chicago? Like he can't pull some gangster stuff here.
No, apparently you saw the ACC kick off as the least gangsters thing that's ever been. I was offended for him. Seminole Headlines 93.3 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV continues in a moment.
News now.
Gadsden County Sheriff's Office is warning the community about a mail scam. The scam consists of local victims receiving a check in the mail from an unknown source requesting them to deposit the check and send some of the money via MoneyGram or Western Union to an account. According to GCSO, the paperwork looks legitimate but may have several fake companies and names listed. The check often comes from a real bank, but the check is also counterfeit. Once the check is deposited by the victim, the money will go through and it will be sent to the account, but some of the money will be kept by the victim. GCSO says the check will bounce back days later or will be dishonored due to it being fake. Once that happens, the victim then is on the hook for the full check amount. The Sheriff's Office advises anyone that receives this mail or has been a victim of fraud to call and report it to their local law enforcement agency. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Mainly sunny skies this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 74. Winds out of the south, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Mainly clear skies and quiet again tonight. Lows level off around 49. Partly cloudy tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 75. Upper 70s Thursday. Much cooler Friday with highs in the upper 60s and showers. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 74.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Life is stressful. Dinner shouldn't be. That motto is why Register Sausage has been doing business in the Florida Panhandle and Lower Alabama for over 75 years. A proud sponsor of Seminole Headlines, Register Sausage always provides the best Southern smoked sausage to over 140 grocery stores and restaurants throughout the Southeast. Headliners have discovered the Register's difference. You can too. To find a store that carries Registers near you or to buy directly, head to registermeats.com. That's registermeats.com. Register Sausage. Yay, sausage!
Hey, Matt.
Yes, Greg?
You know all the different ways that you can listen to Real Talk 93.3?
There are several.
So we've got realtalk93.com. You can go back and listen to all of our shows in the podcast section.
That's right. You can also listen on our app as well.
Search Real Talk 93.3 and look for the red microphone and download our app. Never go anywhere without us.
And of course, you can always listen right on the radio.
Well, they are listening.
Are they?
If they're hearing this commercial, then they're listening.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3.
Seminole Headlines returns now. Head to YouTube and search for Warchant TV today to catch the show live or on demand. Now, here's Jeff Cameron, Ira Schofel, and Corey Clark.
Let's keep it rolling, boys. We've got another question here. I'm just plowing through these Twitter questions.
That's what I like to hear.
Just so you know.
I felt there was a higher quality.
You think so? Well, there were only 10 Facebook questions. I think, Corey, were you a little late?
A little bit. Not too late, though. Not too late.
I had a
Like
suspicion.
9:30. That's not crazy. Ira's done it at midnight before.
Was it like 9:30 at night or a.m.
Yeah.
this morning?
PM.
Okay. Brad wants to know whether we think Mahomes will catch Brady in Super Bowl titles. No, I don't think anybody will. Not in our lifetime.
How many does Brady have?
7. He won 7. He went to 10. He won 7 and went to 10. Nobody's going to catch him. But Mahomes is spectacular.
Let me ask you guys this. Not that we're Patriot headlines, but I heard a podcast recently with longtime Boston radio guy, and he was saying that there was always the debate between Belichick and Brady, and like now it's pretty clear that it was Brady.
Right.
Is that commonly
I think it's always kind of a bit unfair, but yeah, I mean, players, I tend to side with players more. If you're a transcendent player, and he's a transcendent player at the most important position on the
I mean,
field.
even Phil Jackson went and had success, but with Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah, it helped.
It's like it's like Andy Reid before Mahomes. That's probably what Bill Belichick would have been without Brady. He would have still been a very good head coach.
He's still a good coach. There's no doubt. The difference is obviously Belichick's a defensive-minded coach. But yeah, man, I mean, when you have the greatest freaking quarterback to ever live, it's helpful.
Mahomes is pretty special. It'd be interesting if Mahomes' physical abilities get, as you get older,
depleted.
That might be a little tough. Not that he's not a great passer, but that is a little X factor.
I love watching him. I remember thinking that we were in trouble as we began to see the Peyton Mannings of the world retire, and we figured at that time Tom Brady would be, and Ben Roethlisberger did, and others. I remember thinking, man, I wonder where this is going. But there's a lot of really, really good young quarterbacks, great young quarterbacks, and he's chief amongst them.
Jalen Hurts, by the way, who would have saw that coming? I mean, that's great.
Although,
I mean, I don't think he was hit. Was that the worst Hail Mary throw in history?
I think it slipped out of his hand, didn't it?
Yeah,
it slipped out of his hand.
It slipped. But at the time that I saw it, I thought, we got to do better than that.
Yeah. Does he see somebody open at the 28?
Is this a new wrinkle?
I'm going to hit that crosser.
Hit that crossing route on the last play.
Oh, Sean writes, what's it going to take to get a Headlines After Dark, or at least a Headliners Classic Game Recap watch party?
We need to do it, guys. It needs to happen.
Here's the problem.
We have the technology now. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
We've done.
Can we put it behind a
along.
paywall, and not because I want to make money off of it, but you understand that here's the problem with this, because Tom and I did
being able to just
everybody
say
gets that. Yeah. Well, I mean, I did a Belly and Up podcast where Tom and I talked about it openly and honestly like we would at a bar. The problem is like that sound clip of you dropping an F-bomb whenever you want is circulated pretty quickly on the main boards or whatever it is that, so it's kind of an issue. I think it's kind of an issue. I don't know. I would be willing to do it. I'm not afraid. I'm not easily offended. Nothing really bothers me all that much. I think the three of us would do a fine job with that. But I mean, the brand might take a bit of it.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe not associated with Warchant.
Yeah, the brand might take a bit of a hit. So anyhow, maybe that watch party will be happening too. Maybe a live version of it where we just say whatever and we tell everybody that walks into the joint, hey, here's the deal.
Are you guys doing the listener appreciation thing? Because it didn't happen in the fall. Are you guys doing it in the spring?
Well,
we have a plan. What's going on here?
We're trying to center it around the upcoming golf tournament, which we have not announced yet, but we will be doing that again this year.
All right.
You had a good time at the golf tournament last year.
Good time. We had a great time.
Yeah.
You should make that coincide with the spring game.
Corey, we're trying to work around here, do some things. This has been discussed. There are a lot of things that we're going to try to get done, but it takes a lot of work. So we'll see. Okay. Noel Scan writes, so I know you guys don't want to talk about Taylor Swift, but what's your take on Baba Miller? Is he a bust? Is Ham playing 3D chess and trying to get him to stay? I'll hang up and listen, elite headliner. It's funny. That's part of the failures that Corey described this year. They've got nothing from that kid. Now, the NCAA hamstrung them with the 16 games, I understand, but man, he looks completely lost. Doesn't exactly have a place right now. They can't seem to work him in any way. I don't know if he's devoid of confidence or what, but that hasn't worked at all. It's very frustrating because he's going to play, I believe, in the NBA, and it would be a shame if we get zero out of him. And right now we've gotten zero.
He's literally like he's scoring 0 points. Multiple games.
Yeah, we had a Zoom with Coach Hamilton this morning, and he was asked about him, and he actually gave a pretty good answer. He said the kid's dealing with anxiety and stress right now of coming in mid-season to a team that's struggling and then trying to – I think he probably felt the idea that people thought he'd be a savior of some sort. and he's rushing his shot. He just hasn't gotten comfortable. I think the kid's a phenomenal talent. To your point, I mean, I think he's going to end up being a lottery pick. You just like to think you'd see success from Florida State before, but yeah, man, that's the issue with a lot of these guys. They may have a tough time keeping some of those guys for next season.
But watch Baba. When you watch Baba on the court, don't pay attention to the production because there's nothing to watch. But the way he moves on defense and on offense, the way he moves the ball on offense, he's a really skilled passer. He's a good rebounder when he's in there. He's got to get bigger, clearly. But when the ball hits his hand, it stays in his hand. He snatches it. His shots are awful right now. I mean, he anytime he's open for three, it seems like it's an air ball. He's not playing offensively with any confidence. But the athleticism is overwhelming. I mean, it's really, really impressive. And I kind of wish, like Corhin, I like a lot. That kid's probably going to be a pro in some capacity. He can't guard anyone. He can't. All they do is switch the point guard onto whoever Corhin's guarding. They screen. Now he's got to guard a 6'2" point guard in the ACC, and he gets blitzed by every time because, of course, he does. I think Baba Miller playing the center position would do a much better job of guys like Florida State has had in the past of keeping guards in front of them. But then Baba gives you nothing on offense right now, so it's a tough deal. But I think if he stays another year, I think he could take an enormous leap.
I think he would. Yeah. Well, depends on what they get around him, but yeah, absolutely he could. Shane writes, can we please bring back Straight to the Limo for this season? I'm the guy who was yelling it at the Clemson game in 2013, so I feel like I have some say in this matter, and it's time.
Yeah, skin in the game.
Hey, I'm with you. I like the fact whenever we do tweet it, people get behind it. It's not forgotten. It's still in everybody's hearts. We'll see.
I mean, look, man, there wasn't a lot of limos. There weren't a lot of limos for 4 or 5 years. This was not a prom. It was a bunch of Volkswagen bugs pulling up to the prom. Like now that they have guys that can make big plays and they have 60-yard and 70-yard touchdowns, it needs to come back. This is the year.
We have a question, and this is kind of interesting, and I don't know. I'm going to combine a couple here, but somebody asked if we think Mike Martin Jr. will ever get back into coaching, and then also what will Mike Martin's presence be at the stadium these days. I don't think you'll see a big presence of Mike Martin at Dick Howser Stadium. Don't really want to get down that road, if you will, and you guys know why that is. But then also, as far as Mike Martin Jr. goes, I have no idea. I have not. I'll just, for transparency's sake, I have not spoken to Mike Martin Jr. Recently. And so I have no idea what his intentions are, and I wish him well, but I have no idea.
He might be just taking some time to be with the family because,
that's usually what happens.
He is still in town, and he did have another year on his contract, so
he's free to be able to.
He doesn't have to rush into a job to like the way we would if we were out of a job,
right.
And he does, obviously the family's here, and great family, so he wants to be around them. So I think he'll get back into it. I don't know. I think I've heard some people think that maybe he'd do good in scouting or different areas of baseball.
It's a baseball lifer.
Yeah. So, but I think he'll get back into it.
He'll get into it in some capacity. Will he want to be a college head coach again? Who knows? But you figure he's got to be a hitting coach or, like Ira said, a scout or something. Work for. He's got so many connections too. I would think he'd definitely want to get back into. I mean, baseball is his life.
Scotty went on to say in that question, I didn't read this part of it, that he looked forward to my Hauser Concourse puddle reports this season, but I think they're efforting.
Okay, the puddles,
they're efforting.
They can't. All right, two things. So when we did the video on Warchant a couple weeks ago, just kind of about what are things we're looking for from the first season under Link Jarrett, and you talked about the dust on the fans the leaks, and I actually had a message from someone who's very influential with the Florida State community who wanted to make sure that he let you know that the fans have been dusted.
They've dusted off the fans?
They've dusted off the fans.
Oh, buddy.
There's a lot of improvements. Look, man, it's what this person said was, look, it was embarrassing what we've let that stadium become.
You think?
And so
I've
they
been beating the damn drum for 10 years.
You have been. I'm not disputing that.
How are the people in a position of power just getting around to acknowledging that problem?
I think maybe they hadn't really seen inside the bowels of what all was happening.
It doesn't move. It's there every day.
So now they are, and they've made a lot of improvements. They've actually painted the stairways, that whole concourse area, Corey. Like when you go up, it's all painted now. And
that's their answer to everything.
Man, the puddles are going to happen.
New padding out there.
Puddles are going to happen.
What about the video board, Ira? How's that looking?
They say there's going to be improvements, Corey. There were not any improvements when we were there at Fan Day, but I think they're going to unveil them this Friday for James Madison. It should be shock and awe what they put on that video board. on Friday against.
Are we going to get to see Wyatt Crowell 3 stories high or not? That's all I care about for the whole inning. For the whole inning, just a picture of Wyatt Crowell.
I will tell you this: Link's attention to detail is well known. Okay. And I think that that's born out of a philosophy that, the way you do anything is the way you do everything, right? So the fact that he's already gone to great lengths to add to the technological advances within the stadium to help them better guide their hitters. So you have got 3 different cameras views to teach through video. And then I think that, any number of other things that he's talked about on the record suggests to me, Corey, that he will see the inefficiencies of said scoreboard and say, what are we doing here? What is this nonsense? Why do we have King Kong up there on the board when we could have all kinds of meaningful stats that celebrate how well this guy defends, hits, runs the bases, how great we're playing in general, just like whatever it might be, but something other than the time and gigantism. We're trying to do more here.
I actually saw that King Kong, the one that came out in the 77, 78. I saw it in the theater.
Yeah, Jeff Bridges is in that, by the way.
And I think they should play off that theme. Like you have the 35-story Wyatt Crowell, and then like a little like damsel in distress.
Like in his hand, he's about to squeeze her to death.
And you could have model planes glued all around it. It would be an interesting.
He would have a James Madison hitter in his hand, and he's about to squeeze him to death. Whoever the hitter is, whoever the hitter is up for James Madison.
We got a question regarding baseball as it pertains to the pitching staff and what we think that will look like. We talked about this last Seminole Headlines and talked a little bit about some of the options. They're not. Let me just say this, just generally speaking. And again, I'm going to talk to Link tomorrow, guys. That video will be up this week. You'll hear it on the Jeff Cameron Show. It'll also be up on Warchant TV and on warchant.com. But I'm going to do my long form tomorrow with Link. And I always love doing these things and having a discussion before the start of the season. Maybe we'll learn a little bit more about their intentions, but they're not devoid of talent.
No.
They've got good players, maybe not as many as they'd like, but they've got good players and some guys that haven't hit their stride yet that perhaps we think will this year with some changes that were made. Sometimes, new set of eyes go a long way in getting the most out of these guys. So they got dudes who have stuff and they've got plenty of hitters.
Carson Montgomery, one of the captains they announced the other day.
They announced that?
Yeah, I think he was one of the captains. That's a good sign. I mean, again, when you talk about, we talked about it last week. I mean, he's a guy that it could be a game changer if he pitches to the level for more than 3 innings, to the level he could be. And they've got some other, they got some talent, but it's just not a lot of it was proven.
Yeah. I hold out hope because there is, I mean, you know how frustrated you've been watching those guys, and I have been too. And Corey, I think I can throw you in the mix there. It's not like you would watch innings from some of these guys. I won't get specific. And you'd go, that is stuff. There's real stuff there. And then they would mentally collapse. To me, my observation is they would mentally collapse.
I think when we spoke to Carson last week, he admitted that, that was one of his things he's had to work on.
And I've never pitched, so I won't pretend to know what that's like to have that pressure of, okay, you're going along fine. And see, it seems to me that you'd watch guys cruise and then they'd walk a guy, or they'd give up a double, or they'd hit somebody. And then
out of nowhere. And then they give up 5 straight base runners.
Yeah, and how not to fall into the trap of, okay, so what? That one got away from me, or I missed my spots there. But all is not lost here.
A lapse of focus in the wrong situation can put 2 runs on the board in a second.
And it did.
So you just, I mean, that's such a big part of pitching. It's not just about the stuff.
Ryan writes, fellas, if you had to be on Naked and Afraid, are you choosing the jungle, the desert, or the Arctic? I'm not going to the Arctic, but naked. As far as
Corey's going to the one with the least blockage of his.
Yeah, the desert. I want people to see me. I don't want to be covered up by bamboo.
I'm fine with that too. I was about to say the desert. I'm not freezing to death. I know burning's not fun either. I can tell you last on that list is the jungle. I'm not going into a jungle. I don't care if you give me.
Because all the critters, man. It's wet, hot, and the critters are everywhere.
Yeah, I think about that all the time. It's like every time I watch a movie that's based in Vietnam or something like that, not to belittle the people who fought, but I'm saying like I couldn't do it not because of the enemy, but because of the stuff around me every night that I laid there in the rain.
There's just a snake, just
spiders, tigers,
12-foot snake,
huge centipedes. I don't like it.
In a desert, really, you don't got to worry about what, like Gila monsters? Is that it?
And you see them coming from miles away.
Yeah, they're forever. Look, what's that thing coming at me?
Yeah. Got an hour to figure this out.
So desert clearly is the answer, but you probably die quicker in the desert, maybe because you're exposed to the sun.
I want to die quicker if I'm going to die. And I don't want to, I'm not doing the jungle because of the any number of ways that you would die. Or
And that is Naked and Afraid's premise, right? Is most of the contestants do die?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's look, it's where we are as a society. But
It's
do
like
they give them
Running Man.
water? Do they give them water? Like I could be on the desert as long as I got water. You can't have me out there without water.
Yeah, I assume you got water and a cactus and a Gila monster, and you're good. You can eat the Gila monster.
You gotta be able to survive. I'm just not going to the jungle. Last question. Chad writes, Corey has been throwing out the viewing numbers of FSU football recently. Where would those numbers put FSU in the SEC rankings?
So it's a good question. The SEC, from what I could tell, doesn't do condensed games like that's why I wanted to give the shout out to the ACC. They don't do like their own network condensed games. They do highlights, but not actually every play from every game. The SEC network doesn't put that out. But I did do it with Michigan for the Big Ten. Now they were extended highlights. They weren't condensed games, but they blew Michigan out of the water. Like Michigan was getting, Michigan averaged probably 90,000 views for their extended highlights. Florida State averaged 130. And now Michigan was a playoff team, so it wasn't like I picked a bad Michigan team. So yeah, man, Florida State's right up there in YouTube views with all the big boys. By the way, before we go, Brady Clark's first high school baseball game in about an hour and a half.
Let's go,
Good
Brady.
luck, Brady. Let's go, baby.
No, it's a freshman game, so let's not go crazy. It's not varsity. He's not getting a letter jacket out of it. But yeah, he gets his
freshman.
Right now, he's on a bus, his first away trip on a bus to another school. So that's pretty
Probably
cool.
excited. Hey, make sure that you put added pressure on him when you get to the game. Tell him what's expected is out of you and from us too.
What number is he wearing? Do you know?
22.
All right.
Big Emmett fan. I taught him right. He's a big Emmett fan.
Yeah. Tell him, by the way, he's dead to me if he doesn't take an extra base.
Oh yeah, man. You got to start early.
Everybody early. You set
Oh,
the tone,
you don't have to tell Brady Clark
Okay,
that.
No, you do not. He runs into outs like it's his job.
Okay, maybe don't say what I said. Maybe the opposite. If you run into another out, that's it.
Yeah.
Do tell him though if he gets hit by a pitch,
charge them out.
I mean, at least let them know what time.
It's kind of like going to prison. You got to set the tone early.
Yeah,
He's
he
gonna
wants
be
the whole
paying
team to know.
All the other freshman teams will hear about
know
it.
what's coming.
For Corey, for Ira, I'm Jeff. Thank you, Director Matthew. Go Brady. Hit a home run. And at bat number one, we'll all celebrate.
Sure.
Be good, everybody. We'll talk to you again next week. Peace.